Hello and welcome to Game Conclave. We've put together a recap of all the games that were released in January of 2025. We've got the ones that we covered and included others that were shadow dropped, so we're not in our covered weekly release series. Give us a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments if you're picking up any of these. And thanks for watching!
Alright, so up next is Wuthering Waves, which actually already came out. But it's been a slow couple weeks for game releases, which is why we rolled both weeks for PlayStation into one video. Wuthering Waves is a free-to-play, open-world action RPG, and it's also a gacha title. Wuthering Waves is both published and developed by Kuro Games, a Chinese studio. Now, Wuthering Waves was previously already available on both mobile and the Epic Games Store, and it's now hitting the PS5. It's got a very obvious anime aesthetic. I've noticed a lot of these Chinese studios really lean into this art style, which makes sense since it's super popular in Japan, which is, really close to China. And it probably helps these games find a market quickly. But it looks like it's got a variety of traversal elements, including grappling, wall running, and gliding. The game can be played solo or cooperatively with other players. You'll want to make sure you form a balanced party with options for tanking, healing, and damage dealing whenever you're out adventuring. Now for the story in Wuthering Waves, you'll play as Rover, an amnesiac, and the world is rebuilding after a catastrophe called the Lament has wiped out most of humanity. So you'll be trying to uncover the mysteries that led to the aforementioned series of catastrophic events that have shaped this new world, as well as trying to reclaim your memories. So if gacha games with slick action combat tickle your pickle, then you'll want to check out Wuthering Waves, which has already launched on PS5 on January 22nd, and as I mentioned before, it is already available on mobile devices and the Epic Games Store. Alright, so we've got Project Tower, which is both made and published by Yummy Games, a small indie studio coming out of France. And it appears they have previously only made mobile games, and that this is going to be their first non-mobile project. And we've kind of been seeing a lot of that lately, these mobile devs jumping onto PC and console, with some pretty good results, judging by the reception to things like Stellar Blade and Black Myth Wukong. Project Tower is a third-person shooter, and the sci-fi elements here are looking really frickin' cool. So the Hilks, a race of aliens, have invaded Earth, and they are capturing and imprisoning humans and other aliens as part of their Project Tower, which forces captives to try and escape to train the Hilks' armies, which is pretty messed up. So you'll be stranded on this kind of alien planet or whatever it is, and your only chance for survival is to escape. You're lost, you're alone, surrounded by creepy aliens and all sorts of unknown tech, with a mix of gunplay and melee elements, as well as the ability to transform, which the developers have said will be the key to solving tons of puzzles as well as surviving in general. So throw in those obvious bullet hell elements, and it definitely gives it a bit of a Returnal feel. And if that's your jam, you're going to want to pick this one up on January 6th on PlayStation 5 and PC. Alright, so first up is Sea Fantasy, which was made by a small indie Japanese studio, Metasla, who has made several mobile games previously. Their website states they are working on PC and Switch ports for some of their previous titles, in addition to launching Sea Fantasy. So Sea Fantasy is going to be a little open-world RPG, which has a retro early to mid-90s anime pixel art aesthetic. And in the game, it looks like you're going to use fishing for combat as one of your main types of combat, and I don't know why I haven't seen that before. It probably exists, but it's kind of awesome. The fishing will involve some timing mechanics, and then you will harvest the fishies for crafting materials. There will also be some platforming sequences where you do the usual avoiding of obstacles and jumping over threats. Explore the world in your boat, avoid traps on deserted islands, and it looks like your character will even whip out a little sword to thrash up the baddies on occasion. And when you're not doing all that, you'll be crafting your fishing rods in what appears to be a story about evil dragons and a dangerous cult, while you play as two buds sailing the high seas to fish. So what more could you ask for? It's going to be launching on January 7th for PC. starting up with Ys Memoire, The Oath in Felghana. Now this is a remaster of 2005's Ys The Oath in Felghana, which is a remake of 1990's Ys 3 Wanderers from Ys. And I've mentioned previously, the first RPG I actually ever played was Ys 1, Ancient Ys Vanished, back in 87, because I'm ancient. Ys is a long-running fantasy action RPG series developed by Nihon Falcon, the pioneers of action RPGs. They also make the Trails series, or Legend of Heroes, which is... Trails is actually a sub-series of. Anyway, so this one's a modern remaster of a remake. It's got tons of new quality of life features added in, updated visuals, a remastered soundtrack, the ability to swap between the original character illustrations during dialogue and cutscenes, or new refined illustrations. Ada now also has voice acting. An optional turbo mode can be toggled on or off for those who need their combat as frenetic as possible, which Ys already has pretty slick and fast combat. But anyway, you will play as Ada, who is returning home with his friend Dogi to Dogi's homeland. They get embroiled in all sorts of political machinations and ancient mysteries when they find out that the local population is having problems with monsters. There's some platforming, slick, fast, action combat, great boss fights. If you're a fan of action RPGs like the Mana series or Tales of, check this one out. It's going to be launching on Switch, PS4, and PS5 today, January 7th.
I would have you show me your abilities, red-haired swordsman.
Boti, Byteland Overclocked is a very cute, colorful, and fun-looking 3D platformer developed by Purple Ray Studios, and as far as I could find, this appears to be their first game. It's published by Untold Tales, a publisher who focuses on indie titles. The game was originally released back in 2023 on PC, and this updated console release will include all 4 of the game's DLC packs. So you'll be playing as Boti, a little databot sent into Byteland, a cyber world to rid it of bugs, glitches, malware, and viruses. If only it was that easy in real life to stomp those out, right? So, Boti will need to solve puzzles, jump, dash, hover, and glide to progress. As Boti, explore the hub world designed to resemble computer components and gather collectibles while saving Byteland. Boti will also be joined on the adventure by 2 nanobots named 0 and 1. They will assist as well as engage in binary shenanigans. In addition to single player, the game has a seamless drop-in, drop-out co-op gameplay option, which I think is always super fun in these kinds of platformers. There's just nothing better than flailing, falling, flopping, and failing puzzles than having a friend along to make fun of you. So if you're looking for some 3D platforming antics to get up to with a friend, or hankering for something Astrobot adjacent, be sure to look for Boti Byteland Overclocked to hit the Switch, Xboxes, and PlayStations on January 10th.
Hey, look who it is! A new bot? I knew it!
Alright, now next we've got Freedom Wars Remastered. This is a remaster of the 2014 PS Vita action RPG, developed by Dimps, best known for their work on Dragon Ball Z Budokai, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Street Fighter 4 and 5, and Soul Calibur 6. Freedom Wars is set in a dystopian future, 10,000 years in the future, in fact, after the planet's resources have been depleted, and humans now live in brutal city-states known as panopticons and are constantly warring with one another. The very act of being born sentences you to a life of crime, 1 million years in prison for the crime of living. To reduce your sentence, you're forced to volunteer for dangerous combat missions against other panopticons or monstrous abductors. You can use special weapons known as thorns for traversal, allowing you to jump, grapple, swing, etc. Different kinds of thorns can also grant different special abilities related to traps, healing, shields, and that kind of stuff. The game will feature 8-player co-op or competitive modes, allowing you to work alongside one another and earn resources for your panopticon or attack rivals from enemy factions. You can customize your player character and your cyborg companion, known as an accessory, who will aid you in battle. The remaster is touting higher res textures, supporting 4K resolution on compatible platforms, updated control schemes, the option to use the original control schemes, and they've also stated that the crafting system has been overhauled. Additional difficulties also added in to make the game easier for single-player access. The remaster will also be coming with all the previous DLC released for the Vita, so if you're looking for something to scratch maybe that Monster Hunter itch, or you're a fan of the God Eater series, check this one out when it launches on the Switch, PlayStation, and PC on January 10th.
Criminals, 6,000,000 criminals, 26,659,683.
Alright, so last but certainly not least, we have Mexico 1921, A Deep Slumber. I am always a big fan of these narrative, adventure, and puzzle games, which is what Mexico 1921, A Deep Slumber is. I grew up playing King's Quest, and so these kinds of games have a spot that is very near and dear to my heart because they kind of take me back to those simple days. I think that they often kind of get some flack in the modern era for being what people dub pejoratively as a walking simulator. And I understand what they're saying, but sometimes there's a joy in playing a game to me where the goal is to simply get lost in the world via exploring or through the story. And getting the player immersed is just something this genre can do astonishingly well when you give it a chance. Tangent over. This one's being made by Macula Interactive, whose goal is to share more about the history and culture of Mexico, their home country, through games. And as someone who spent time in Tijuana and Guadalajara, I think that's awesome. I really enjoyed seeing all those architectural flourishes from that part of the world in the game through that really cool painted art brush aesthetic they've got going on. Now, you'll be playing as a photojournalist named Juan, who is going to snap photos, eavesdrop on conversations, and collect objects that will inform the player about all sorts of Mexican poems, history, and other trivia. The story's backdrop is 1921 Mexico, which is a post-revolutionary era in their history, and the former revolutionary Alvaro Obregón is now the president of a newborn country where citizens are demanding things like education for their children and the expansion of human rights. And under that backdrop, Alvaro is murdered under mysterious circumstances. So if mysteries or narrative-driven games are your kind of jam, then make sure you check this one out when it's launching on the Xbox Series S and X on January 9th, or pick up a copy on Steam where it is already available. Alright, now first up we've got Super Onion Boy Plus. Super Onion Boy Plus is an action platformer featuring a retro-style pixel art aesthetic. The game is both made and published by Power Slash Studios, who have previously released Super Onion Boy 1 and Super Onion Boy 2. Now, Super Onion Boy Plus is an enhanced version of the original game. You'll be playing as Super Onion Boy himself, who's on a quest to rescue the princess after she's taken by monsters. You'll collect coins and stars to gain extra lives for Onion Boy, and chests will contain potions that grant superpowers. So you'll jump, dash, and spring your way through obstacles in addition to kicking and bopping enemies on the old noggin. As the game is an enhanced remake of the original, developers have added in some new superpowers, lengthier stages, and extra bosses for a challenge. Super Onion Boy wears its inspiration from a certain unspecified Plumberman's game on its sleeves, but I must confess I always get a little thrill hearing some of those goofy old retro-style sounds and tones in these games. So if you're looking for a retro throwback platformer title in the vein of Super Mario World with a dash of some OG Sonic elements, you might think about picking this one up when it launches on the Switch on January 10th, and it is also already available on Steam. Final Night is a beat-em-up roguelike focused around party building. The game is developed by 2 O'Clock Soft, and in it you'll combine 9 classes, 6 backgrounds, as well as various moralities and feats to try and optimize your party's synergy. You'll clear stages to buy new equipment and relics and bash bosses for the shiniest of loots. This game definitely seems like a very arcadey throwback to something like Dungeons & Dragons Shadow over Mystera, which I'm actually kind of shocked has never been made playable in the modern era. Anyways, Final Night is entering early access today, January 13th on PC, and has a planned Switch port at some point down the line once the early access period is over. Whenever it does hit full release, we will be sure to let you know. Next up, we got Hyper Light Breaker. This is a co-op, open-world, online, roguelike action RPG. That's a mouthful. It's going to have procedurally generated worlds made by Heart Machine, the developers behind Solar Ash, and Hyper Light Drifter, which this is actually a prequel to. You'll be playing as a breaker, who are both warriors and explorers charged with rebuilding the world. You're tasked with entering the Overgrowth, a new realm in the world of Hyperlight. As the world's in disarray, you'll find yourself clashing with and needing to defeat the defenders of the Overgrowth known as Crowns to collect their memories and figure out how to take down their leader, the Abyss King. Traversal elements will include wall dashing, hoverboards, and gliding throughout the various biomes. The devs are touting almost infinite replayability and combinations, ensuring you'll never be bored by seeing the same worlds over and over. Dodge and parry attacks in ranged or melee combat. You'll be bringing back resources to help your settlement grow. As this is a roguelike, death doesn't mean the end. Every failed run is meant to be a learning experience to help you prepare to take down the bosses. This one is going to be going into early access on PC on January 14th. I'm not sure how long it's going to be in early access, but I wouldn't be shocked to see some console ports down the line. I could see myself sinking a ton of time into this one. I do occasionally love the excessive looty grindy. Next up is Threefold Recital. This is a little action-adventure puzzle game made by Everskip Games, who have staff members who worked on Hollow Knight. Although this is pretty different. You'll be playing as, and I'm going to butcher all these, Tai Ching the Fox, Triratna the Wolf, and Transia the Snake. Each of them have different skills. Transia can travel through paintings and alter appearances. Triratna can sever karma and destroy obstacles. And Tai Ching is a transmuter. Using each of the three characters' unique powers to solve puzzles, you will enter Blue Scales, a fantastical metropolis, where humans and beastlings have lived together for 1,000 years in peace. But now tensions are rising, and you'll be trying to figure out who or what is unraveling the formerly harmonious state. If you're a fan of cozy games, mysteries, or unique worlds, this is one that you definitely want to take a look at. I gotta say, when I was playing a bit of it, I accidentally left the game on for about half an hour to do some cooking, and I totally just sat there and vibed with the soundtrack. It was really, really good. This one will be hitting Steam on January 14th. We could not find anything about any console ports, but I feel like this game would definitely find a home on the Switch. Last up, we've got Aloft. This is going to be an early access title. It is developed by Astro Lab Interactive, whose previous title was a party brawler called Sacrifice Your Friends. Aloft is a cozy, soft survival game set in a world of floating islands. You'll run around and farm up materials to craft new items, tools, and weapons with which to explore the world. I played a bit of the demo on this, and I really enjoyed my time with it. I especially liked once I got to access to building the little gliders and then floating from island to island. That was really cool. Gave it a really interesting setting. You can even turn the islands into big giant ships by building sails and all sorts of other stuff. You can harness the power of the wind to automate various machines you build to help you produce supplies and materials. You'll cook food for buffs and wander the skies looking for ancient ruins to solve the mysteries of the world and combat the spreading corruption. The developers have said their motto was to reward players for success and not punish them, which is why they've turned it a soft survival game. Food and drink aren't necessary, but they will provide meaningful buffs when consumed. So if you're looking for a new cozy survival automation title to vibe out to, check this one out. The early access period launches on January 15th. It's not clear how long the title will be in early access, but they have said they would like to do some console ports at some point in the future, and of course once it sees a full release, we'll be letting you know all about it. Broken Alliance is one we've covered previously in our RPGs of January video. This is coming by way of Placeholder Gameworks, an indie studio out of Estonia. They previously released Death and Taxes, and they've got members on staff who worked on Disco Elysium and Heroes of Might and Magic. So I think this take on the Heroes of Might and Magic formula is in pretty good hands. Broken Alliance is set in a fantasy world that is dying. You'll pick between one of 4 distinct factions. Paradise is aligned with nature, Forge is focused on technology, Anchorage are traditionalists, and Phobos are some creepy fanatics. Creepy. You'll recruit units based on mythological creatures and monsters, and use a card system for unique skills you utilize on your units or enemies in a turn-based tactical RPG with some really sweet pixel art. I really think, like I stated before, this one's just like the perfect blend between the aesthetics of old school games and then the clarity we kind of expect in the modern era. Based on what I've played in the demo, the writing looks like it's going to be pretty good. The developers have said that choices will matter throughout the story, which undoubtedly means multiple endings and variations of the story to see. It's going into early access on January 15th on PC. I know I will be diving into that. If you're a fan of Heroes of Might and Magic or King's Bounty, or you just like what you're seeing, you should think about doing so as well.
They come at us with blade and spear and axe and spell to kill us and to steal from us because they feel it. Fear of the unknown.
Alright, first up we've got The Lies We Tell Ourselves, which is an indie horror title, psychological horror, made by Poopsie. And Poopsie is evidently one fat developer and two extremely judgmental cats, one of which was also fat. So I just assume this game is going to be great. Jokes aside though, this is going to be an adventure psychological horror title, episodic in nature from a first-person perspective, with a focus as Poopsie. And yes, I was looking for another excuse to say that. But as Poopsie has stated, the game will focus on subtlety, introspection, and atmosphere. You will be playing as Vincent Arnaud, whose life is shattered on his 27th birthday. You'll explore his past and discover some hidden truths. So if you're looking to try out an atmospheric horror title, or a fan of games like Layers of Fear or Martha is Dead, then The Lies We Tell Ourselves is probably right up your alley. It will be launching on January 15th, 2025 for PC.
Vincent's Tale, a bleak display of goals and dreams all washed away.
Tribe Nation is a real-time strategy game with roguelike elements. It is developed by Random Worlds SRO, and I think that this is their first title. The game is set during the Gallic Wars, as you pick between various Celtic leaders with different bonuses trying to flee the incoming armies of Julius Caesar, and claim yourselves a new homeland. You'll clash with other Celtic tribes that have capitulated to Caesar. After the bite-sized battles, you'll be given the option to pillage your enemies, depending on whether you do a soft, normal, or a brutal pillage. Determines what kind of resources you gain from the fight, alongside potential bonuses or potential handicaps. So you have to think strategically about how you treat the fallen armies, as you don't really know what might be coming up. You can find shops and purchase new equipment to provide bonuses to your army. Played a bit of the demo, and I enjoyed my time with it. Roguelikes and strategy can sometimes be almost at odds with one another, with the wanting to plan things out and the randomness of the other. But what I saw of it worked here, so this one's going to be a full release on PC on January 15th. Next up, we've got Assetto Corsa EVO. This is a racing sim and the third game in the Assetto Corsa series. It is being made by Kunos Simulazioni, which I probably just butchered the name of. Let me know how to pronounce that down in the comments. But the devs have been making racing sims since the mid-2000s. The game will feature all sorts of vehicles, from the mundane to race cars. The developers have made the game in their own proprietary engine, which, if what we're seeing is in-game footage, holy moly does it look good. This is a genre I'm actually okay with pushing the boundaries of graphical fidelity, because I think here it makes a lot of sense. The Assetto Corsa series is often praised for its realism and physics, so if you're looking for something to really turn your wheels, check it out when it launches on January 16th for PC, and console versions are expected to come down the track later in the year. Blade Chimera is a Metroidvania developed by Team Ladybug, who previously developed the Record of Lodoss War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth, which is also a Metroidvania. You play as Shin, a demon hunter and amnesiac in Blade Chimera, who has entered into an alliance with a shape-shifting demon named Lux, who can transform into a sword and manipulate time. Together they will be journeying through a corrupted Osaka brimming with ferocious demons to regain Shin's lost memories. The game has a bit of a cyberpunk theme with occult elements mixed into it, and that's a really cool mashup. I haven't played their Record of Lodoss War game yet, but I did actually just pick it up about a month ago from VGP based on the recommendation of a good friend, so I probably need to dive into that real soon and then check this one out. It'll be dropping on January 16th for PC and Switch. let me ask you a question. Are you ready to go bananas? Eh? Yeah, I couldn't stop myself. Anyway, Donkey Kong Returns HD is a remaster of the 2010 Wii game Donkey Kong Returns, with the added levels of the 2013 3DS port, remastered for the Nintendo Switch. I think this is the first Donkey Kong release since Tropical Freeze back in 2014. It's made by Retro Studios, who made the Metroid Prime games as well as Tropical Freeze and Mario Kart 7, and they are based out of Austin, Texas. In this one, you'll be playing as Donkey and Diddy Kong, who are attempting to rescue their precious bananas from the Tiki Tac tribe. You'll jump, bash, and glide through stages while you seek out your bananas, puzzle pieces, and Kong letters to unlock hidden secrets, only on the Nintendo Switch on January 16th. And, I almost forgot to mention, the game has local co-op, and I know me and my wife are going to get down on that. The DreadOut Remastered Collection is a compilation title consisting of the first two DreadOut games, DreadOut and DreadOut Keepers of the Dark. These two survival horror titles were made by Digital Happiness, a small studio based out of Indonesia, who previously crowdfunded the original releases through Indiegogo, and there are now 5 games in the Dread series. They have some mechanics in them that are very similar to the Fatal Frame series, so if you're a fan of that, you should probably give this one a glance. In a mix of first and third person perspectives, you'll play as a high school girl and use your smartphone to fend off mythical Indonesian spirits in a deserted town. So if you're looking to get creeped out, this collection will be coming out on the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and the Switch on January 16th. Alright, and last on this list, we've got Dynasty Warriors Origins. Dynasty Warriors is a very long-running action series. This is the first Dynasty Warriors title I think we've seen since the poorly received Dynasty Warriors 9 back in 2018. This one, like all the other games in the series, is based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms novel, which is a part fictional, part historical novel based on the end of the Han Dynasty or Three Kingdoms period of China. It's made by Omega Force, who make all these warrior or Musou games, such as Fire Emblem Warriors, the One Piece Pirate Warriors, Gundam Warriors, etc. They also made Wild Hearts, which was actually a pretty decent Monster Hunter clone. In Dynasty Warriors Origins, they've stated that up to 10,000 enemies can be on the screen. I don't know if I believe that, but I played the demo and it ran really smoothly. This series is just a good old hack and slash power fantasy. It's you thrashing thousands of enemies per battle and just some good old mindless fun. You'll play as a nameless hero known as the Wanderer in this one rather than as a famous historical figure like in some of the previous titles, though you can select from them to be your partners in battle. This will be coming out on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, and X, and PC on January 17th.
We are now in control here. Keep up this momentum, and we will take Sushui Gate. Take this. The enemy.
Things Too Ugly is a point-and-click psychological horror adventure title created by Professor Space Games, which is an indie solo developer, and I do think this is their debut title. Set in Mississippi in 1986, you work as a risk assessment data processor for Tenebros Incorporated. You will comb through company records uncovering mysterious activities your employer engages in. What you do with that info can make or break the company. You will solve puzzles and interpret clues as you delve further and further into the company's deepest secrets from your retro-equipped desk. Things Too Ugly will be getting a full release on PC, Switch, Xbox Series S and X, and PS5 on January 16th.
So this is strange. I've got a message in the console, but it's not one known to verify.
Next up, we've got Tales of Grace's F Remastered. If you're not familiar with the Tales series, it's a long-running action RPG series that's been going since the mid-90s. This one was originally made by the Namco Tales studio, formerly known as Wolf Team. They are responsible for the vast majority of Tales games, including Destiny, Symphonia, The Abyss, Vesperia, and Xillia 1. The remaster is being handled by Tosei Co., who worked on Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion and Dragon Quest Treasures. The game has a very anime fantasy vibe going on. I've played a couple of the Tales games, and they have really, really top-notch characterization, great story twists. Characters I've absolutely loathed have transformed into endearing and relatable protagonists in this series. The story's initial premise is you are living on a planet called Ephenia. 3 young children, including the main character Asbel, will come together to make a promise that could save the world, but tragedy strikes and these people will find themselves later on in life at odds with one another. This remaster will include a post-story event known as the Lineage and Legacy. Several quality of life features have been added in, autosave, skip features, the ability to turn off enemy encounters, etc. The Tales of games are known in particular for their action combat system. It's as deep as you want it to be. You can plow through the game with simple button mashing, or you can take the time to master the game's systems for the harder difficulties and challenge. The combat can get pretty intricate. So if you're looking for a good story or action RPG, a fan of things like Kingdom Hearts, Star Ocean, or the Mana series, check this one out when it launches on January 16th. It'll be hitting the Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC. Alright, next up we got Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hel. Yeah, that name is that name is totally metal. Like seriously, that would 100% look at home on one of my heavy metal Spotify playlists. Jotunnslayer is very much a Vampire Survivors-like. Is that the term we're using? No, I don't know. But it's one of these survivor-type action games inspired by Vampire Survivors, only it is set in a Nordic, hellish setting. Sort of like Vampire Survivors meets Diablo. This one is being made by Games Farm and Artillery, who have both previously made cutesy adventure puzzle games. So the aesthetic and tonal shifts here might give their fans a bit of a whiplash. But you'll pick from several different characters, each with their own unique skills, fighting off nigh endless waves of enemies, take on challenging quests, and unlock new perks as you fight off the Hordes of Hel. This one will be launching into early access on PC on January 21st. Needy Streamer Overload is developed by Zemono. They previously worked on an adventure game called Ultra Mushroom. Needy Streamer Overload is a psychological horror visual novel wrapped up in a pretty pink bow. If you're familiar with the Doki Doki Literature Club game, I'm guessing you'll probably find something pretty similar here. I still haven't played Doki Doki Literature Club. I picked it up because I heard it was one of those just really weird and strange titles you had to experience. This looks like another one of those. You'll be playing as P-chan, who interacts with Ame, also known by her streaming alias OMG Kawaii Angel. You will give her daily commentary and guidance to help out her streaming career, helping her become a super popular mega streamer. And in her downtime, you can help her manage her stress by going out on dates. And no, this is not a porn game. I understand why someone might assume it is based on the imagery and description, but the developers insist that it is not one. So I'm going to take them at their word. So if you've ever been looking for a cutesy, kawaii streamer girl to, I don't know, manipulate and see what she does with her life after your terrible influence, then Needy Streamer Overload might be a game for you. It's going to be coming out on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 on January 21st. It already came out on Switch and PC back in 2022, and there is a sequel actually going to be dropping on PC soon. We will be covering that in another video on upcoming new releases in the near future. Alright, everyone out there, we gotta have a small talk. We previously released a video talking about new games coming out where we covered Needy Streamer Overload. And I referred to this upcoming game, Needy Streamer Typing of the Net, as its sequel. And honestly, I'm not even really 100% sure that's what it is. Apparently, you will be playing as now one of OMG Kawaii Angel's viewers, and you will be engaging with her in a typing simulator where you spell out words after she asks you how they're spelled. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this series. I'm just gonna have to play it at some point. It's just, I don't know, my brain is like hurting, wondering what on earth it is, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a prequel, maybe it's a sequel. I don't know. I'm just confused about it. So yeah, if you want to know what's going on, make sure you check out the first one. Then you can come type at OMG Kawaii Angel so that she knows that you know how to spell. And as the trailer says, no, you can't fix her. But yeah, the game will be dropping in January on PC, and presumably they are going to bring out some console ports later down the line. Alright, so now we've got Robodunk, made by Jolly Punch, whose previous title is a wacky-looking 2D fighter called Fly Punch Boom. As for Robodunk, their newest title, I have got to read this description directly from the developer to you. Our game is NBA Jam meets Rogue Legacy with robots. And yeah, I mean, that's that's exactly what it is, and it's kind of awesome. If you ever thought you needed more NBA Jam in your life, and instead of Barkley, Bird, Johnson, and Jordan tearing up the lanes, you wanted robots to smash and destroy each other, well, now you've got that option. Yeah, it's a roguelike where every match is different. You'll unlock permanent buffs, level up your bots, and apparently discover the lore of the gods, and why life is built around dunk. In a full single-player or a co-op game, whenever I see something bizarre like this, I'm just totally taken back to the 6th and 7th generation, where there was just so much weird experimental stuff going on, and I love it. This one already came out on Steam and Switch back in 2023. It'll be now hitting the PS4, PS5, Xbox Series S, and X on January 21st. Somber Echoes is developed by Rock Pocket Games and Lav Games. It is a Metroidvania based on Greek mythology and tragedies, and that sounds awesome to me. Yeah, I love Greek myths and history. So you'll apparently be entering the spaceship Atromitos, which has become a breeding ground for horrific beings to deal with, as well as your twin sister Harmonia, who is planning to destroy the universe. You play as Adrastea, who in Greek myths is associated with helping to protect Zeus from Kronos, his father, who intended to devour him. Learn about what's transpiring while exploring and defeating enemies to acquire new powers and skills. This one is exclusively coming to PC at this time, but we did see the developers say they would like to bring this one to consoles. So if you like what you're seeing, or you're just digging a new Metroidvania, check it out on January 21st, and hopefully it does well enough that we can see some console ports down the line. Disorder is an upcoming action RPG roguelike. As it's made by Grumpy, a small indie Korean studio, people are probably going to compare this one to Stellar Blade, but I would expect it was probably in development before that came out. The game is centered around playing as a woman who has lost her memories, wakes up in a shopping mall she needs to escape from, armed with a katana. It looks very much like a flashy character action game, mixed with roguelike elements. You get to choose what kind of buffs you get and stuff when you clear out zones. When we were researching this one, there was a demo available, and we did notice some frame rate drops and stiff animations. Hopefully they got some of that patched out when the game goes live. If it's still present, only you can determine how much that kind of stuff bothers you. Disorder will be hitting the PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC on January 21st. Dance of Cards is coming out on the Switch and Xbox, and this is a card-based poker RPG. Yeah, so we're seeing lots of weird blends of card games lately, interspersed with various other genres, and I love it. I was already a fan of cards in RPGs, and like various roguelikes like Slay the Spire and Baten Kaitos, and now we have Balatro, and now this Dance of Cards. It's almost like a meta level, like the game is the cards, and the cards are the game. Anyway, this is made by Good Morning Mr. Frog, whose previous title was a turn-based RPG called Of Blades and Tales. In Dance of Cards, you'll board a ship for the New World, only to become trapped in a deadly game of cards. You'll play other passengers in poker to determine whose life is forfeited next. Cheat and bluff your way to victory and survive for 7 days in turn-based tactical poker combat. Yeah, this little indie RPG, it just looks fun. The whole premise sounds really interesting. I might have to check this one out. It'll be hitting the Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and X on January 23rd. Next up, we got Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist. This is a sequel to a criminally underrated title, Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights. This is kind of interesting, and both this one and its predecessor had two developers, AdGlobe and Livewire. Livewire has worked on some other games independently of AdGlobe that were shoot-em-ups, and AdGlobe independently has worked on Redemption Reapers, which is a strategy RPG. So this is an interesting mashup of two studios who do two very different things coming together somewhere in between both their wheelhouses, or at least that's how it looks on the outside. And I gotta say, that's really cool. The Ender Lilies games are Metroidvania action RPGs with a really interesting mechanic in that you don't actually do the fighting with your character. Instead, they're a little summoner who summons ghosts and homunculi to fight on their behalf. So you'll be playing as Lilac and a tuner who awakes deep in an underground laboratory, and you will set off in search of your lost memories in the land of fumes. If you're looking to explore a dark and poignant fantasy world or something to scratch that Castlevania itch, this one will finally be leaving early access on January 22nd and releasing on the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, Switch, and PC. Alright, and last up we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for PC. This is the second part of the Final Fantasy VII remake. It is a trilogy. If you don't know what this game's about, despite what the shipping community thinks, it is not a dating simulator. This is a full-blown RPG with a story that is not exclusively about who goes on a date at the casino. Yeah, some people don't know this. Anyway, again, if you're not familiar with Final Fantasy VII, it kind of revolutionized RPGs back in the day. The original one came out on the PlayStation 1 back in 1997. Got a cast filled with iconic gaming characters. Cloud, Tifa, Barret, Aerith. They're all in this one. This launched last year on PS5. And throughout the story, you'll be journeying with Cloud and his friends to try and thwart a threat to the planet in the form of both Sephiroth and the Shinra Corporation. The PC version is boasting enhanced lighting, environmental details, and upgraded textures, and it has been Steam Deck verified. The original game is often hailed as one of the greatest RPGs ever made and one of the best stories ever told in gaming. And we said this previously back in our RPG of January video, but I feel like the remake project is more of a retelling. I feel like what's going on in the storyline is enhanced by knowing the original game's plot. I feel like some people who are hopping in here might be a little confused because there's there's a lot going on here, and certainly some major deviations to the original story have been made, and it continues to run parallel to it, but with some major events that did not transpire. I think of it more as a reimagining, not a remake. That's the wording that they chose, though. They get to. It's their game. But anyway, the game has really slick, fast action combat with these slowdown elements. Almost like, it's really good combat system. Great music. They are reinterpretations of Nobuo Uematsu's original soundtrack for the original game. Tons and tons and tons of mini games and fantastic graphics. If you want to check out the original, see where it all started, you can pick it up on virtually every console. The original's been made pretty readily available. Part 1 of the remake, just titled Final Fantasy VII Remake, however, is only available on PC, PS4, and PS5. And this one is a direct sequel to that one, so you might want to check those out firsthand, hitting PC on January 23rd. Alright, so Guilty Gear Strive is finally hitting the Nintendo Switch. If you're not familiar with Guilty Gear, this is a long-running fighting series made by Arc System Works, one of the best fighting game dev teams out there. They're behind, obviously, Guilty Gear, but also the BlazBlue series, and they do tons of licensed fighting games. They made the Dragon Ball FighterZ, the Grand Blue Fantasy Versus game, Persona 4 Arena, and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Just really fantastic games. One thing I love about this series in particular is that a ton of the characters are named after heavy metal bands and musicians, like Venom and Michael Kiske. They always just, I don't know, they're awesome. They have top-notch animations, killer soundtracks in their games. This one will be dropping finally on the Switch on January 23rd. It is already available on pretty much all other platforms.
Let's rock!
And then the second bit of news ties into that. So not only are we getting a Ninja Gaiden 4, we're also getting a remaster of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is the definitive version of the game. This was originally an Xbox 360 exclusive title that launched back in 2008. Then it was later released on the PS3 in 2009 as an altered version known as Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. Only now it's going to be in Unreal Engine 5. And this is actually shadow dropping today, right here, right now. You could go pick up this awesome action game. Really challenging. The new version has difficulty options to tone that down if you choose. They said that when remastering the game, they placed special emphasis on the gore and dismemberment system, which is hilarious. I think this is the last title that Tomonobu Itagaki made with Team Ninja before he left the studio. So yes, this is the last one that he worked on. It's going to be playable on the Xbox Series S, NX, PS5, and PC. And like I said earlier, just shadow drop today. So if you're in the mood for some hard-ass fights, over-the-top action, or just some violent bloodiness, check it out. Alright, this one is kind of awesome for at least 3 reasons. It's the 25th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles, which means it's getting a remaster. And secondly, the physical copies carry a ludicrous price tag, so this will probably drop those. And thirdly, they've added in new characters, including Jar Jar Binks, which I think is further evidence that he is in fact a Sith Lord, and was secretly controlling the events of the prequel trilogy. If you're not familiar with Jedi Power Battles, this came out back in the year 2000 on the Sega Dreamcast and PlayStation 1. It's an action game that incorporates platforming and beat-em-up elements. You play through a sort of rendition of Episode 1's plot. There's several characters that are unlockable and have been new ones added into this remastered version. The different characters have different playstyles, slightly different power sets and skills. It's a really fun co-op back in the day, and I'm excited to see that it will continue to have local co-op. Me and my wife are definitely going to play through this one. It's going to hit the Switch, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X on January 23rd. Sword of the Necromancer Resurrection is being made by Grimorio of Games. I don't know why I said it like that. It's a full-fledged 3D remake of their original roguelike action RPG, Sword of the Necromancer, and it will feature fully revamped graphics, combat, and summoning systems. Once more, you'll be playing as Tama the Rogue, tasked with protecting Coco the Priestess, only to fail. Tama then takes her body to the Necromancer's crypt, said to hold the power to resurrect the dead. You will utilize the Sword of the Necromancer to force your fallen foes to do your bidding as you delve deeper and deeper into the crypt. The game will feature a tactics system where you can prioritize your summon's actions. It will also feature procedurally generated dungeons, ensuring every playthrough is different than the one that came before. There's also a roguelite mode to offer you even more challenges. You can also tackle the game in a local co-op mode with a friend, though in the original it was only available after defeating the first boss. We weren't sure if there are requirements to unlocking co-op this time around, so we did want to mention that. This one will be launching on the PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, and PC on January 23rd. Okay, so now we've got Synduality Echo of Ada. This is a PvPvE live service extraction shooter. You will be playing as a drifter who pilots a mech known as a cradle coffin, and you are aided by a magus, which is an AI partner. You wander up to the surface to gather resources for your home base and fight other players as well as monsters. I found this game's, while researching it, we found this one a little confusing. There's going to be a single-player component to the game as well, but it's primarily a live service game by design, is how it sounds. And then parts of the single-player won't be available at launch. I don't know how the game's player base is going to look or react to things like that. It's coming out with a price tag in a genre that's heavily associated often with free-to-play games, but it looks like this one will have tons of microtransactions, so I don't know. Might be like a Concord type situation here. Not really sure. But yeah, in addition to the shooting and looting aspects, you can spend copious amounts of time with your AI partner, so maybe the waifu and husbando aspects of it will have people overcome their fears of spending cash on this one. I'm not really sure. This one will be coming out on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC on January 23rd. And there was an open beta period, and we did read the reviews from that open beta, and they were generally kind of mixed. I'd say about a third of them were fairly negative. So hopefully those issues are patched out, the things that people weren't liking about it. If not, you might want to wait a minute on this one if it looks appealing to you and just kind of see what the reception's like after it launches before you throw your hard-earned cash at it.
Place your hand here. Activating our contract. This magus shall always remain by your side.
All right, next up we got Worlds of Aria, and this is a interesting looking one. It's a little adventure game where you form a Dungeons and Dragons style party. You can play solo or co-op with friends, and it's made by Ludogram Games, whose previous title was Firebird, a narrative adventure title. And a fun little thing about this one was it's narrated by Laura Bailey, the voice actress, super prominent, best known probably as Nadine in Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy, Abby in The Last of Us 2, Rise Fujikawa in Persona 4, and just dozens and dozens of other roles. I think she's in pretty much every major gaming series in some way, shape, or form by now. She's also on the web series Critical Role. But yeah, so in Worlds of Aria, you can play the game by yourself or with your friends. You'll select from one of 12 characters, each with their own skills. You'll form a party and set out on what the developers describe as a chaotic adventure filled with decisions to make and dice to roll, while trying to defend the kingdom from encroaching evil forces. This one already released on PC last year, and it is now landing on the Switch on January 23rd. Alright, Mark of the Deep is developed by Mad Mimic, whose previous game, Dandy Ace, is also very similar to Mark of the Deep in that they are Metroidvania Souls-like roguelikes. And yeah, that's a whole bunch of mashups of genres, but it's a popular mashup. So anyway, this one's a pirate-themed one with really awesome visuals. And people are undoubtedly going to compare it to Hades, which, yeah, it looks pretty reminiscent of. But after a while, it kind of becomes its own beast. You play as Marcus Rook the Rookie, and you'll be exploring and fighting enemies while searching for your lost crewmates on a cursed island, complete with quests, monsters to defeat, undead, enemies, and cultists as you try to escape from this mystic island in a swashbuckling Souls-like. It's launching on PC on January 24th, and there are console versions planned to launch, but as of the time of this recording, we could not find any official store pages, so the console versions might be coming at a later date. If that's the case, we'll be sure to let you know when they do come out, but there are planned versions from what we could find out. Wizardy The 5 Ordeals is a remaster of the 2006 release of the game with the same name. If you're not familiar with Wizardy, it's actually a very early Western RPG series. It was created back in 1981, but it found more success in Japan, where the IP was eventually acquired and resurrected long after most Americans had forgotten it even existed. Various Japanese studios over the years have continued to keep the franchise alive since the 90s. And these are pretty hardcore dungeon crawlers. You'll create your characters, venture into a dungeon looking to conquer it with a 6-person party. This series is much more focused on party building, exploration, and combat than it is on the story. So if you're looking for a new dungeon crawler, this one will be launching on the Nintendo Switch on January 30th. Cuisineer is a cozy action RPG roguelite dungeon crawler developed by Battle Brew Productions. And I think that this is their first non-mobile title. In Cuisineer, when you are not slapping baddies with spatulas, you're grilling up some great grub. And yeah, we have some cozy fans here, and they're dying for this one to come out on console, because evidently they haven't played it enough on PC already. Looking at you. Anyway, you play as Palm, an adventurer turned restaurateur. Your parents' restaurant has been run into the ground, and to pay back their debts, you'll be delving and diving into dangerous dungeons to farm up materials for cooking and get the restaurant out of debt. The game features over 100 different recipes to learn, as well as some seriously angry chickens. So if you're a fan of colorful, cozy games, make sure to check this one out on January 28th when it hits the Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X. Those Who Rule is a turn-based tactical RPG set in a low fantasy world, promising a sense of moral ambiguity, dialogue decisions that matter, and strategic combat. It is made by a solo indie developer, and in the game you'll be given command of a party of new recruits to train up in a war-torn land, as you try to unravel the conspiracies threatening to tear your nation apart. You'll have to think of unit positioning and party composition to meet the game's challenges. Dialogue decisions can and will affect the outcome of the story, so if you're looking for something to scratch that Fire Emblem itch, check this one out when it launches on PC on January 27th. The DLC we've got for you is Atomic Hearts, the third DLC pack for it, the Enchantment Under the Sea, which is definitely going to give even more Bioshock comparisons than the game already has gotten. Because you're now underwater with a freaking talking dolphin. Yeah. I haven't actually gotten to play this one, but I really want to. And it seems like with every DLC pack that comes out, this game gets weirder and weirder, which just makes me want to dive into it even more. But yeah. Anyway, the DLC pack is going to be releasing on January 28th.
Homo sapiens.
Whoa, a talking fish.
Alright, last but certainly not least, we have Eternal Strands. This one's coming to us from Yellow Brick Games. They have not released anything previously. This is in fact going to be their debut title. What is super interesting about this one to me though, and probably a lot of other people, is that Yellow Brick Games is founded by Mike Laidlaw, who worked as one of the primary creators of the Dragon Age series at BioWare. He was also extremely important in Jade Empire and was a writer on Mass Effect. And if you know anything about me, you know I love those games. So I'm really, really, really excited about this one. You'll be playing as a weaver named Bryn, who is trying to recover her people's cultural homeland. And it's going to be like a physics-based RPG, incorporating all sorts of cool fire, ice, and telekinetic powers into what looks to be a new and interesting fantasy setting. I did see somewhere that the creators said that the Shadow of the Colossus was one of the inspirations behind this game, and I can totally see that based on some of these enemy designs. The developers have said that the player's creativity with powers are just as important as exploration in the game. You can do all sorts of cool looking stuff, use your ice magic to make bridges, fire powers to ignite things, telekinesis to rip objects out of the ground for platforming or even to hurl at enemies. Between your various magical skills, sword, and tools for mobility, you'll want to bring down these giants and other enemies, and I am really pumped about this one. I'm honestly just not even sure what to compare it to. It's almost like PsyOps the Mindgate conspiracy meets Shadow of the Colossus, and that sounds freaking killer. So I'm definitely going to be diving into the demo that will launch on Steam January 21st to get a taste of this one before it launches officially on January 28th for PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. Tales of Iron 2 Whiskers of Winter. It's a Souls-like action RPG and the sequel to the first Tales of Iron game, both of which were developed by Oddbug Studio. The first game came out back in 2021, and it was a great game. I don't really hear much about it, though, which is a shame. You'll play as Arlo, the heir to the Warden of the Wastes. The ancient evil Darkwings, which are evil spooky bats, have risen once more, and you'll be tasked with uniting the disparate clans and rebuilding your settlement. Doug Cockle, perhaps best known for voicing Geralt of Rivia in the very small under-the-radar series known as The Witcher, will be returning once more to narrate the Grand Rodent Adventures. I gotta say, I really love the art style. Reminds me a lot of Darkest Dungeon so much, and I love that game as well. You'll defeat monstrous foes, collect rare resources to craft epic armor and weapons, evade and parry your foes as you try to reclaim the Northern Lands. You'll have access to multiple weapon types and traps as you try to deduce what will work best to take down the vicious beasts you encounter. If side-scroll and Souls-likes are your jam, or your favorite film of all time is The Secret of Nit, you're going to want to give this one a gander when it hits the Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC on January 28th.
When the night's so dark, dawn struggles to break.
Alright, next up we have the Stone of Madness. This is a real-time tactical stealth game coming to us by the developers of Blasphemous, the Game Kitchen, who are also developing the upcoming Ninja Gaiden game. You'll be playing as 5 prisoners held in an Inquisition-era prison that's become little more than a madhouse. You're going to be able to cast spells, stun enemies, steal people's attire, and distract enemies as you try to fend off madness. Swap between a team of 5 different characters with different abilities as you attempt to escape from the Spanish monastery. It looks like there's evidently going to be some kind of a sanity mechanic in this, and I always love sanity mechanics. I love Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. It was a great game. I don't know why it's never been made playable on any modern systems, other than it's just issues with the developer, Silicon Knights. I don't even know who owns the rights to it, but yeah. If the sanity system in this is something akin to that, I'm gonna love it. There's a day-night cycle. It will affect guard behavior and actions. The art style's really, really cool. These are all apparently paintings that the studio has animated, and yeah, that's awesome. So if you're a fan of the Me games like Desperados or Shadow Tactics, check this one out. It's going to be landing on Switch, Xbox Series S and X, PS5, and PC on January 28th.
Thus begins our tale. May God have mercy on our souls, or whatever is left of them.
Next up, we have Virtua Fighter 5 REVO. This one's developed by Ryuga Gotoku Studios, best known for the Yakuza / Like a Dragon series. And now, we could be wrong about this, but I think this is the first time that a Virtua Fighter game has been on PC in the West, maybe even worldwide. If you're not familiar with Virtua Fighter, it is a very long-running fighting game series and one of the most important games ever made. It's extremely critical. Not only is this one of the, if not the first 3D fighter, it's one of the games that really put 3D on the map. The series is known for its simple control scheme, but tons and tons of depth. It's a fantastic fighting series. It influenced a lot of game development. Developers who worked on just iconic series like Quake and Tomb Raider have said that Virtua Fighter inspired a ton of the things that they developed. It revolutionized texture mapping and 3D movement effects and had a huge impact on the industry. So it's a great series. And so this is a remaster of Virtua Fighter 5. It's going to feature rollback netcode, high-res textures, 4K resolutions. You'll choose between 16 playable characters, and then get ready to rumble. Yeah, this remaster is hitting PC on January 27th. Warside is a fast-paced, turn-based tactical combat game that is very clearly an homage to Advance Wars, which is a Nintendo series that, not counting the 2023 remaster of the first two games, has been virtually defunct since about 2008. But anyway, Warside is being developed by Lavabird. In the game, you'll choose between one of 14 different commanders and choose how to construct your army between 30 different unit types. Dive into the single-player campaign or hop online for cross-platform battles, conquer your foes in land, sea, and air. If you're a fan of Advance Wars or just jonesing for a new tactical strategy game, this one's launching on January 28th for the Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, PS4, PS5, and PC. Corridon is an action RPG developed by Aftnareld, and I probably butchered that. But Aftnareld is a small indie Swedish studio comprised of a couple, and they decided to make a co-op action RPG that supports up to 4-player drop-in, drop-out co-op gameplay. You'll choose between 4 different siblings who have the ability to shapeshift into their fallen foes. Upgrade both your human and beast forms as you explore the world of Hera, level up, and discover the dark secrets of the city of Asha. One hilarious sounding aspect of this game is when you're playing co-op, one player can actually ride the other player while they're transformed, and I don't know, it sounds really goofy and fun. This one's only coming out on PC on January 29th, but I have seen posts from the developers on social media that said they are open to bringing the game to consoles as well, so hopefully it does well. Marvel Spider-Man 2 is the third game in the Marvel Spider-Man series developed by Insomniac Games. Now, if you're not familiar with Insomniac for some reason, they are the developers who created Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet & Clank, and the Resistance series. So they've got a lot of great titles under their belt. You'll once again be playing as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in this slick superhero action game with the occasional section as Mary Jane Watson. As either of the two web slingers, you'll be swinging through the Big Apple, bringing down baddies in the open world that consists of Queens, Brooklyn, and Coney Island. When you're not doing that, you'll progress the game's story as you try to keep the city and your loved ones safe from the threats posed by iconic and awesome Spider-Man villains like Venom, the Lizard, Kraven the Hunter, and the Sandman. Unlock new suits and skills for each of the spiders. This one came out last year on PS5, but it's finally hitting PC storefronts on January 30th.
Crazy wants a hunt? I'll give him one he'll never forget!
Alright, so Phantom Brave The Lost Hero is a strategy RPG, and it's a sequel to Phantom Brave The Hermuda Triangle, which is a game that came out like over 20 years ago. I remember back when this was announced last year, and I was actually kind of really shocked. I did not expect to ever see a Phantom Brave sequel. Like its prequel, you will be playing as Morona, who's considered cursed, as she can see and command phantoms or ghosts. Morona can summon the phantoms directly into objects, allowing for all sorts of hilarious stuff as they can animate cannons and pots and garbage, which will affect their stats and provide special abilities. This comes from Nippon Ichi Software, probably best known for the Disgaea series, La Pucelle, and Rhapsody: A Musical Adventure. If you know anything about Nippon Ichi, they do Goofy. Goofy is their thing. Don't expect the story to have too many serious moments. It'll probably have a few tender moments here and there, but generally it's going to be pretty goofy. That's just their thing. They focus on gameplay and games with almost borderline infinite replayability. You can just keep playing these games pretty much endlessly. The game takes place in the same world as the first, the island world of Ivoire, which is now under attack by a fleet of ghost ships, and Morona is looking to stop them. So if you're a grind fanatic or looking for something goofy, you're not familiar with Nippon Ichi games, this is one of theirs coming out. Make sure to check it out. You can level your characters into like the tens of thousands, their stats into the hundreds of thousands. It's expected to launch on January 30th for the Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC.
There's something I've wanted to talk to you about. Morona?
The subjugation target has been eliminated. Task complete.
Alright, and lastly, we have what's probably going to be the biggest game of the week, and that is Sniper Elite Resistance. Now, this is developed by Rebellion Games. It is a tactical stealth third-person shooter set during World War II in Nazi-occupied France. The Sniper series is known for its ludicrously over-the-top and infinitely hilarious kill cam, which is 100% still present. So, you'll be playing as Harry Hawker during the story from this one, which actually runs parallel to the events of the campaign from Sniper Elite 5. And in it, the Nazis have developed a new weapon that will win them the war, so you will cooperate and provide assistance to the French resistance to help them undermine the Nazis at every turn. As Harry, you'll be provided with kill lists, and then you will determine how to infiltrate and assassinate your targets, sabotage enemy equipment, snipe targets from afar, or stealthily sneak up and slit their throats. The game will also have a new mission type, the Propaganda missions, which will require you to kill targets in time-sensitive challenges. The popular Axis Invasion mode will be returning, where you can invade another player's game and play as a Nazi sniper and try to take them out and interfere with them, which sounds really awesome. So yeah, 16-player online competitive battles, and the entire game's campaign can be completed in co-op. The game will be dropping on January 30th for the Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, PS4, PS5, and PC. Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector is a sequel to Citizen Sleeper. Both games are developed by indie studio Jump Over the Age. This is going to be a dice-driven sci-fi RPG where you play as a sleeper, an emulated human mind living within the confines of an android body. You're on the run from your creators only to fall under the control of a criminal space gang who rule a space station. You'll pull yourself out from under their thumb and commandeer a vessel that's unfortunately a clunker. So you'll assemble a crew, seek out odd jobs, and repair your vehicle to progress and determine your fate with dice rolls. You can go hungry, struggle to manage your character's stress, have your dice take damage and decay, which will limit your options, and while all this is going on, your android body is starting to fall apart. So if you're looking for something really nitty-gritty that kind of emulates the tabletop role-playing experience, then you really need to give this one a shot. I've heard the first one is phenomenal. I haven't played it though. Fans of Disco Elysium should probably be taking a look at this one when it launches on January 31st for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, Nintendo Switch, and PC.
Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop us a comment if you're going to pick up any of these titles. As always, from all of us here at Game Conclave, thank you so much for watching.